Hello, my name is Tim Morris, and if you are watching this, you are probably part of the 1 p.m. section of CS1000. Or maybe not. In either case, welcome to this short presentation about YouTube poops. If you are a rational human being, you probably do not know what a YouTube poop is, shortened to YTP, let alone have ever seen one. Here is a formal definition put forth by Ruth, Alexandra, Moran in the journal titled Concepts of the Database in Contemporary Media Practice, which is published in Interactions, Studies in Communication and Culture. YouTube poop is a subgenre of video remix that remixes diverse media samples or elements and is typified by lo-fi or jarring post-production effects. Central to its aesthetic is the subversion of the underlying ideology of digital technological development, which tends to discount the possibility of the failure, imprecision, or malfunction of digital technologies. YouTube poop narratives assert the digital technologies of their production by emphasizing the suboptimal operation of these technologies in glitches, poorly rendered imagery, harsh sound elements, and jarring audio-visual composition. Multiplicity is also central to YouTube poop narratives that typically combine elements taken from diverse media sources, different periods in audiovisual culture, different types of audiovisuality, film, television, advertising, and different registers or tones of audiovisuality, from children's television to online pornography. Considering this lengthy definition is a lot to take in, I will now lead into a brief example of one via the channel trailer for a YTPer who goes by the online name of DaThings1.
Hey everyone, I'm DaThings1, and I make videos that are called YouTube poops. And if you haven't seen them yet, it's really the sort of video where people go, whoa, sweeps, and sometimes they go, I saw and sometimes I make people say things that are different. And one thing really said, if you watch long enough, you're bound to hear source, see, sus, maybe even source. I try to make my videos clean, and hopefully they'll make you lol. So if you like what you see, please subscribe.
I think that gives a good general idea about YouTube poops, especially the so-called sentence mixing used to make someone say things that are different than what they really said. But for a better idea, I interviewed a few friends, who largely wish to remain anonymous, who make, or at least often watch, YouTube poops. Here are some responses.
It's a video using clips from a variety of other sources, most times edited together randomly, in a very desperate attempt to achieve some form of humor.
A YouTube poop is a video that takes one or more source videos and edits them to humorous effect, chopping the source videos up and creating something entirely new.
I'd say a YouTube poop is a weird, edited version of any given video just made for the sake of entertainment.
YouTube poop is a style of video editing in which segments of video and audio are recut in order to create new jokes where none existed before. Usually this is done with a well-known video source, such as popular TV shows, cartoons, video games, or commercials.
Now that you perhaps have a basic understanding of what a YouTube poop is, I will now proceed to talk about the when. But figuring out things such as the first YouTube poop prove difficult as it depends on exactly how one is defined. For the sake of simplicity, I will choose two vastly different cutoffs. The first cutoff is a broader one that considers any form of audio or visual mashup produced for the sake of surreal humor. This definition leads me, though I do not claim that an earlier example does not exist, to The Flying Saucer, produced by Bill Buchanan and Dickie Goodman in 1956. I will play a sample of this now.
We interrupt this record to bring you a special bulletin. The reports of a flying saucer hovering over the city have been confirmed. The flying saucers are real.
Real when I feel what my heart can't conceal.
That was the Clatters recording. Too real. We switch you now to our on-the-spot reporter downtown.
Come on, baby, let's go downtown.
Take it away, John Cameron.
This is John Cameron downtown. Pardon me, madam. Would you tell our audience what would you do if the saucer were to land?
Duck back in the air.
Thank you. And now the thin gentleman there.
What I'm gonna do is hard to tell.
The gentleman with the guitar. What would you do, sir?
Oh, just take a walk down the street.
Thank you. We return you now.
Quite thrilling. The second cutoff for first YouTube poop is much more contemporary, and involves the namesake of the genre. It was uploaded to YouTube in 2006 by a YouTuber known as Super Yoshi. Though he claims to have created it in late 2004, this claim is impossible to verify. It was given the title, "I'd say he's hot on our tail." I will play a sample of this now.
Wow! I'd say he's hot on our tail. Koopa, that's what. Wow! I'd say he's hot on our tail. There's only one real solution to this mess. A stray Christmas tree? A Koopa tail! Oh no, Luigi! We gotta get rid of this trash before it turns me all the way into a Koopa! Wow! I'd say he's hot on our tail!
This could easily be considered the very first YouTube poop by name, and I would speculate that very few fans of the genre would disagree with this claim. What is interesting, though, is nearly every fan of the genre I have spoken with considers this to be a bad YouTube poop. Pertaining to the name of the genre, Super Yoshi has been quoted as saying the following: "It has been debated whether or not me or Yamino truly came up with the title of YouTube poop, since neither of us saved our AMI conversations back then. We'd always call them YouTube You Poop because of our immature sense of humor and say we were submitting some poop to YouTube. But we never used YouTube poop to label and organize the videos. Neither I nor Yamino have ever used it in any of our videos because we felt it detracts from the whole confusing experience. In any case, it is indeed true that Mr. Simon popularized the term, as well as the videos in general, but his videos were not the first ones labeled as such. Unfortunately, as I've stated before, after getting banned, Duke of Fortune Man has no interest in making a new account to upload the old videos, so all you have are my word and a few people who have re-uploaded some of his videos they managed to back up. I don't think the very first one to use CDI Zelda has ever been re-uploaded. To give some further context, Yamino, Mr. Simon, and Duke of Fortune Man are all YouTubers in the same era as Super Yoshi. CDI was a video game console produced by Philips Interactive Media, on which games such as Hotel Mario, featured in Super Yoshi's video, were developed. These CDI games were usually terrible games, which was the primary motivation to make fun of them using methods such as YouTube poops. To understand some of what could be considered positives of YouTube poops, it would be useful to ask why they are made. Firstly, I'll present part of a Q&A from a noteworthy YouTube pooper who goes by the name of Noise Puppet.
Burning Fajita Salt says, "When did you first become open to the idea of pooping? Mixing and mashing the banal to make something funny? Was it first something that popped up with the rise of YouTube poop, or has it been in the back of your head for a while?" I'd say it's been in the back of my head all my life. I think that human beings just sort of naturally chop up all these audiovisual presentations in their own heads and rearrange them in a way that suits them. When I saw that people were doing this on YouTube and that there was a way to do it with the sort of desktop computing power that I had, it was just an instant reaction. I had to start doing this. So the answer is 6 of one, half dozen the other. I think that I would always want to resist mass culture and advertising and commercial culture by taking their productions and chopping them up and making something else out of them, even if it's like these old sort of schoolyard parodies we used to sing when we were in elementary school. You know, McDonald's is your kind of place, hamburgers in your face. These things had real traction with us when we were kids, and they still do in my mind at the age of 50. It's taking commercial mass culture products and rearranging them to suit our own needs, and in ways that liberate the contents of the unconscious mind, and in ways that offer resistance to colonization by commercial interests.
Very interesting perspective, I think. To summarize the ideas he presents, I would say that he immediately became fond of YouTube poops because it mirrors our tendency, especially as children, to mix together things we hear in silly ways, even if only verbally. In addition, he enjoys doing this as a way to decolonize his mind from corporate influence. This seems kind of like a form of protest, the way he puts it. My interviewees seemed relatively neutral about the morality of YouTube poop, but many of their responses had a common theme. Let's take a look.
I don't know that there's anything bad or good about it. It's just people expressing themselves and making stupid jokes to friends.
Overall, I can't really say they do much. People who share interests over them can relate with each other, but that can be said about almost anything. To me, they're just there to make people laugh.
And to cap off that point,
I'm going to get pretty philosophical about such a superficial type of video, but I view them as pure expressions of creativity because essentially you aren't limited by anything but your own imagination and your editing skills. That in itself is very good and very healthy.
essentially, the point to be made with these quotes is that it is basically an art form and has the associated themes: creativity, discipline, entertainment, and potentially a form of nonverbal protest. And as with most art forms, there is not necessarily a strong polarization of positive and negative. Or is there? To add one more fascinating point to the positives, one interviewee had this to say: "It is a great way to practice video and sound editing." I will make a futile attempt to lead this part from least bad to worst offenses. Although interviewee 4 states that there are exceptions, he tells me,
"A lot of entries just seem unclever and unfunny to me."
But it is to be expected that for any form of entertainment, some people will enjoy it and some people will not. And now for the first case study of the negative impacts of YouTube poop: Michael Rosen. Michael Rosen is a self-described poet, performer, and broadcaster. He is also a professor of children's literature at Goldsmith University of London. Here is a snippet of an interview with him from 2011.
Right, I put up about 60 performances of mine on my website, and you have to choose your platform, and so I chose YouTube. I hadn't quite figured out, this is the bit I didn't realise, is that when you put things on YouTube, I thought somehow or other the access was via my website. Then I discovered, oh no, you could get to it via YouTube. Okay, this is about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, so I'm just figuring this out. And then not only, if people can get it on YouTube, they can then take it and chop it up and turn it into something else. So if you've done a poem called The Babysitter, some teenage guys in America call it The Baby Shitter. And if they've got the Michael Rosen rap, they can, not so funny, call it the Michael Rosen rape.
I think his cynical perception of YouTube poop creators should be noted, as it emphasizes his frustration with the genre. He also hints at another issue with YouTube poops: the obscenity. It is very common in a YouTube poop to make the most obscene jokes possible given the most innocent source material to obtain shock value and a strange kind of juxtaposition. That in itself is considered a bad thing for many people, but Michael Rosen later goes on to elaborate the secondary issues.
I've got any objection to obscenity. It's all right. I'm utterly liberal about it. The problem is that kids are accessing this stuff. They put on the computer, they put in Michael Rosen, up comes the baby shitter, the Michael Rosen rape. I mean, you know, it's all right by me. I can sort of live with it, but I'm getting letters from parents going, "Are you aware?" And of course they think possibly it's me doing it, you see.
Michael Rosen may not necessarily mind the content itself, but he finds issue with, firstly, that kids have access to this, and that secondly, his reputation might be tarnished by it. That was jumping forward in the interview, but there's another point I want to show from earlier.
Idiot me, what did I try and do? Pull them down. I tried to take them down because I thought, well, hang on, there's a copyright issue. Gold poppers. They're my poems. My son shot the poems. I spent the money to do it. How dare they? So what I did was I let YouTube know. And YouTube said, that's all right. What you do is you just simply say they've breached copyright. And the way you do it is you write to these, whatever you do, you'll know, you go to their URL or IPC or whatever it is, and you basically ban it. And boy, did the proverbial hit the fan.
He goes on to talk about his clash with the YouTube poopers at the time, but that isn't really what I want to highlight in this presentation. What I do want to point out from that clip was the mention of copyright. With YouTube poop, there's a huge potential for copyright infringement since it by definition takes many existing pieces of media and chops them together. Funnily enough though, one of my interviewers inadvertently made a counter-argument to this concern.
It occurs to me that YouTube poop shares a lot of similarities with mashups, which are a long-standing tradition in music. YouTube poop might actually be the first instance of this remix culture being applied to video.
You see, YouTube poops may actually be protected under copyright laws as mashups, or at least under fair use. The legal issues surrounding video mashups as opposed to audio-only mashups appear to be more complicated though. The best bet is to simply claim YouTube poops are fair use, as they absolutely do not retain the integrity of the source material and are never for profit, unless a particular YouTube pooper accepts donations via a service such as Patreon. In which case, or even in any case, the copyright issues surrounding YouTube Poop are very gray and do deserve a mention in the negatives category. The second case study involves a dispute between CS188, a very popular YouTuber, and a foundation repair company.
When you need foundation repair, you want foundation repair, and you'd like to save a lot of money, right?
That clip was from the first video in CS188's entire series of videos from the same source material. The first was uploaded in September of 2010, and all videos in the series were removed in October of 2011. I will play the majority of the audio from an aftermath video CS188 uploaded, as I believe it is very insightful.
Hey everyone, CS here. I just want to make a very quick statement about the removal of my Josh and Hostess related videos. Basically, I just got a email from YouTube stating that someone had filed a privacy complaint against one of my Josh videos, and the person basically wanted all of the remix videos using foundation repair sources taken off of YouTube. So I obliged, and I took all of mine off. And for any of the other people who also made foundation repair remix videos, I advise you to do the same. I know who it was who filed the complaint, but I'm not going to be pointing any fingers because that's just going to make things a whole lot worse. So really, just leave it as it is, and don't use the foundation repair video sources anymore. Because basically, what I've realized over time is you gotta make people anonymous if you're using these videos for just fun remixing. You can't leave their names in the video. You gotta either black them out or find some other way of digitally altering it. And that's also another reason why a lot of YTPers use cartoon sources, because they're safe and they don't have personally identifiable characters. So, I just want to make this quick statement. That's all.
What had been going on, which was not mentioned in that video, was that fans of the CS188 YouTube Hoops were calling the foundation repair company to prank call, or even going as far as tracking down the individuals who gave testaments to the company. Needless to say, that is a very bad thing, and I am not surprised that only as a matter of time did someone eventually complain to YouTube to have CS188's videos removed. So, to give some closing thoughts, I would like to add a bit of my opinion to YouTube Poops. It is likely obvious by now, especially given the fact that I took the time to make this presentation, that I am a supporter of YouTube Poop and have even made a few of my own. Though I do not dare share any, as I am also a supporter of separating my online presence from the professional academic. I am of a similar opinion to Noise Puppet in that I enjoy making poops of things I dislike, or at least have frustration with, but I also make them for the sake of being silly and having no limits. It's also getting late, and I am recording most of these voice lines last minute, so I probably sound very bored. In actuality, I'm not actually very bored at all. I'm mostly enthusiastic. I just can't maintain a non-monotone voice for this. To counter the issue of kids viewing obscene content, all across the board, not necessarily only YouTube Poop, I will play another snippet from the 2011 Michael Rosen interview.
Back they come saying, well, that's not our fault, that's the fault was their parents letting them surf the net. At which point, I had no answer. And I said, yeah, I mean, if you've got a problem, if you let a 10-year-old surf the net, you will see the most god-awful stuff up there. So I said, fair dues, guys.
Basically, it's a parent's job to ensure a child browses safely, not the internet's. But, as far as Michael Rosen's concerns for reputation, I have to concede, it should be the YouTube Pooper's responsibility to make it clear that a particular video is not endorsed by the original content's creator. For copyright, I simply say fair use. They are non-profit videos made for entertainment and do not contain an unmodified, complete version of the source material. The issue of privacy is less cut and dry in my opinion. I believe that if someone has their personal information present in something such as an advertisement, that nothing new is revealed by making a YouTube poop of it. Should a third party act in a malicious way using that already present information, it is not the YouTube pooper's fault. However, I would consider it good practice to censor any personal information in a source material before using it in a YouTube poop, though I would not consider it required. There is more I would have liked to include in this presentation, but unfortunately I am limited by time. It's 9:58. Oh no, not 9:58, it's 9:48. Here is one final clip from the Michael Rosen interview that I will use as final thoughts. with the moral of the story being, weird things aren't new, only the access.
When I was at the school, we used to think it was really racy, you cut up photographs, yeah? And that was amazing, because you cut them up and you can have a bloke's head on a woman's naked body. Fantastic! That was just brilliant, yeah? So that was like, you see, that was the art and mechanical way of you see? And then there's been various things, but a lot of this stuff has been inaccessible. Television and radio were held by these major companies. And now what's happened with YouTube and so on, we're seeing it with the injunctions thing, all kinds of fractures are happening. And people can just take it, do what they want with it, and it's bugger all people like me can do about it. So there we are.